When you turn on your television, you're bombarded with the horrific headlines of thousands of migrants dying every year attempting to cross the Mediterranean. Closer to home in South Africa, gruesome stories of xenophobic violence have become all too familiar. What doesn't make the news, what should be the headline, is how millions of migrants across generations have managed to integrate well into host societies, earn a decent living, and manage to support their families back home. That is the story of remittances. That is my story. As a first-generation economic migrant in South Africa, my remittances, or black tax, if you will, come in the form of a small monthly token of appreciation to my parents back home in Zimbabwe. As my parents near retirement age, my remittances are an increasingly important way in which they can supplement their income. Remittances is equally the story of the young Indian man risking life and limb building World Cup stadiums in Qatar in order to support his young wife and son. Remittances is equally the story of the domestic worker in Cape Town who sends money back home every month to the Eastern Cape to a grandmother who's taking care of her daughter. You cannot separate the story of remittances from the story of migration. And you cannot separate the story of migration from the story of humankind. Whether you're aware or not, remittances is our collective story. Let's look at the numbers. If you follow the red line on the graph behind me, it's clear to see that annual remittances into low and middle income countries, excluding the outlier China, have grown exponentially to far outstrip all other capital forms. Looking at the same graph, if you're looking at foreign direct investment represented by the purple line, that's all the money coming from friendly governments, from NGOs, and the like. It's clear to see that remittances have far exceeded foreign direct investment. Looking at the same graph again, looking at official development assistance, that's all the money donated by charities and the like. Once again, remittances always comes out top. And finally, remittances dwarf portfolio flows. That's all the money that's going into local stocks and bonds. And yes, the scale of the graph is correct. So-called poor migrants send close to $700 billion every single year to their countries. Not only is that number astounding, but I'm here to tell you, remittances are also incredibly resilient. Looking at the graph again, every time there's a crisis, such as 2008 or 2020, FDI plummets, but remittances hold strong. The power behind remittances and the source of their resilience is not magic, but rather strong emotional family bonds. As migrants, we're willing to make sacrifices through dipping into our own savings in order to continue providing the critical support our families require. The tragedy, however, is that all of this sacrifice has done very little to transform low and middle income countries. The lack of transformation can be attributed in part to several structural challenges which we take on today. I'll demonstrate some of these structural challenges by sharing an anecdote of what happened towards the end of last year during my mom's birthday. As a good son that I am, the contagious favorite, I know my brother's in the ring. I knew what my mom wanted for her birthday. She wanted cash, dollar bills, yeah. With that knowledge in hand, I sent her $100 over and above my normal monthly remittance. The first challenge that I faced was the cost. The money transfer agent charged me a whopping 10% rate that came up to $10 just in fees. The second challenge that I faced were the leakages. My sister, who collected the cash on behalf of my mom, asked for $5 to pay for fuel, and then went to spend an additional $10 in pizza simply because she felt like she deserved it. When it was all said and done, my mom received $75 that I sent. The greatest tragedy, however, was how that $75 was spent. It was spent to buy electricity, it was spent to buy water, it was spent to buy groceries. Whilst all useful and important, all of these use cases were consumptive and brought no return on investment. Therein lies the greatest challenge with remittances today. While some are channeled towards household development projects, an overwhelming majority goes towards household expenditures. This charity approach breeds a culture of dependency and unreasonable expectation. It's a tale of two tragedies where migrants are unable to make savings or invest towards their own well-being. In the event of a crisis, such as a family member dying or losing his or her job, families quickly fall into destitution. But I'm here to tell you, this need not be the case. We can rewrite this story. There's an opportunity to steer more remittances towards sustainably developing, investing, and empowering the families, communities, and countries where we come from. We need to change our mentality from one of supporting towards one of uplifting. Let us create greater agency and independence. Let's move from talk to practicalities. How can we do this? There's a potential to move more remittances towards investing in renewable energy. I choose renewable energy because it's an industry that I know well, but also because it has a unique relationship with migration The adverse and worsening impacts of climate change on livelihoods are one of the key causes of outward migration in low and middle income countries. The same countries often have poor energy infrastructure and struggle to raise capital to change the status quo. Using that logic, countries that often receive the most remittances often require the most renewable energy investments. So how can we turn our remittances into renewable energy investments? Well, we can do that in one of three ways. Firstly, at family level, we can invest in renewable energy technologies that can help generate an income for our families. We could explore solar irrigation, or we could explore solar-powered chicken coops. That chicken coop may cost you $1,000 a day, but it'll be able to earn your family $500 per year into perpetuity. Secondly, at community level, we can invest in community-level renewable energy infrastructure that has both an impact and a good return on investment. Once again, we can look at solar irrigation, but at a village scale, or you can look at village-scale electricity grids. Imagine being the person that brings reliable power to your hometown or village. Imagine ensuring no one is left behind. And then lastly, at national level, we can invest in national level renewable energy infrastructure that once again has both an impact and a good return on investment. We could explore renewable energy bonds or renewable energy stocks. These would likely earn you more of a return on investment than your money does in your bank in the diaspora. It is estimated that migrants abroad have more than $500 billion in their savings. Imagine putting a fraction of that to good use. I know Israel is a contentious example, but that's something they do very well. An Israeli may live anywhere in the world, but they'll always opt to bank out of Israel. Every time the Israeli government flights a diaspora bond, it's always fully subscribed. All that is needed is trust in the institution that's facilitating the investment. I'd like to leave today with an appeal to three groups of people. Firstly, to my fellow migrants, let us change our mentality from one of supporting towards one of uplifting. Let us invest in our families, communities, and countries. Let us breed greater agency and independence. To my fellow entrepreneurs in your respective industries, be it agriculture, be it real estate, let us create the products and services that can help migrants invest in their families, communities, and countries. Let's make products that are digital, easy to use, accessible, most of all, just good products. And finally, to everyone else here today, I'd like to leave you the same message that I left my fellow migrants. Let us change our mentality from one of supporting towards one of uplifting. This needs to hold true to how we run our businesses, how we run our lives. Let us focus less on aid and more towards sustainably investing in developing economies. As a collective, we have the power to change those gruesome headlines and usher in a new era of migrant-fueled economic renaissance. We are well and truly the masters of our own destiny. Thank you.